How's it going, everyone? Wayne the Unknown here, and welcome to Cosplay Con, where we basically discuss everything pertaining to the cosplay community and conventions. We are doing another segment on convention discussion, and I'm joined here by Kurt Liedtke of KCC Comic Con in Klamath Falls. Thank you for coming on again, Kurt.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. Thank you for the invite.
You're very welcome. Thank you for being my third guest to talk about another convention coming to Oregon. So, I guess to begin, what made you come up with the name KCC Comic Con?
Well, pretty obvious. We couldn't come up with a better name. I mean, it was the very first thing that came to mind. I was like, yeah, that's good. Just move on. Klamath Community College. And since, Comic-Con already has two C's in it, why not make it four? So
Not to
it's
be
KCC CC is the name of the event.
Not to be confused for anyone who's listening, not to be confused with Kansas City Comic Con.
No.
So how long has this been in the making for?
Oh, let's see here. As of mid-February-ish. I know most people spend an entire year or good chunks of the year planning this thing, but largely the idea for this event came out of a conversation with Klamath Community College's president, who was wanting to figure out ways to get the public on our campus more, to see our facilities and showcase our programs, and wasn't quite sure how to do it. And the very first thing I thought of was, let's do a Comic-Con, because I've helped out at other regional Comic-Cons, and I'm a regular attendee at Southern California events and up in Portland. I only moved to Southern Oregon in 2014. I was in Los Angeles working in Hollywood for about 12 years. So I've been in the industry for a long time in a number of different roles. And since we haven't had a whole lot of public events like this because of COVID for the last couple of years, now that we're kind of starting to hopefully kind of move past that, my first thought was, let's do a Comic-Con. And the school president told me, what's a Comic-Con? And I said, well, it's a big giant event where we can just combine a whole bunch of things together all at once. That'll be a variety of activities. Sorry about my phone. It'll be a bunch of activities kind of thrown all together on campus that'll force people to kind of roam around and see what we offer. And it should bring out a couple thousand people, because there's other Comic-Cons that happen in the area. Oregon Tech has done one in the past. The Klamath Library has done one in the past. Of course, there's multiple ones in the Medford area. And the crowds that come out are huge. And he's like, great, do it. And so we put together a committee of other fellow nerds on campus who wanted to do something fun. And it's come together really, really fast. A bunch of people brought different ideas. I have a lot of connections from my time in Hollywood. So I've been able to line up some really cool featured speakers.
That's always a good thing.
Yep. And we're trying it for the first year. Hopefully we can make this an annual thing. The ultimate goal is, of course, that hopefully people see our facilities and our programs and want to then enroll in programs, whether it's in person or online. But really, it's an opportunity to just bring the community together, because we've been lacking in events like this for so long, and just have a lot of good, positive fun at Klamath Community College.
I mean, the fact that you're making it free right there, like, people won't have to pay, because I know there's some there's not a huge majority of free cons. I've only probably been to one so far, but I imagine there's others. But the fact that, you're making it free will let people know, okay, yeah, I definitely want to check this out. This, see what this place has to offer, not just for a con, but also for enrollment and everything.
And we're also making it free for all the vendors too. So vendors
that's even better. That's even better.
So vendors don't have to pay, people don't have to pay. You can just show up and do whatever activity we have going on. And there's a bunch of different things that we have going on. Whatever suits your fancy, come hang out for as long as you want. It'll be from 3 to 8 p.m. on Friday, May 13th. We were thinking weekend, but Friday the 13th was right there. And so
you gotta take it.
We gotta take advantage of Friday the 13th. So it's gonna be at least this year all horror themed. Now, family friendly, but still.
I mean, any particular reason why it's from 3 to 8? I know some cons do like an earlier thing. I imagine that's like, is this the time that you guys were only able to get, or?
No, we had initially talked about doing like 12 to 9 or 12 to 10 for the whole day, but it being our first year, some people on our committee that have been putting it together were a little worried about, do we have enough volunteers to be able to pull this off? And then as soon as I put out a press release calling for vendors and volunteers, we've had just an onslaught of people from all over Oregon that are like, I'm coming, I want to help.
I know a
Or
few people who are,
can
I
I
know a
set up
few
a
people who are
table?
vending here too, so that's a good
Yeah,
thing.
so those fears may have been a little unfounded because we've barely promoted this thing so far. We just got our posters today,
I
actually,
mean,
so I'll be putting those up.
when you said this was free, because I was like looking on a buddy of mine, shout out to Nick Prime. He's the one who told me about this through Facebook. It's like, I've
Owner
never,
of the Retro Wormhole, yeah.
yep, yeah, he's the one. Yeah, he's the one who told me about it. So it's like, oh, I have to look into this. And like, oh, okay. I don't know if I'll be able to go to it. I was telling myself, I don't know if I'll be able to go to this year, but I have a family member who wants to
Mhm.
take me this year who offers like, yep, I might as well go if, if they're offering to take me because I need to check out more cons and everything. And
So the idea of doing it on Friday was students and staff will already be on campus anyway because it's a work day.
it's also the
And
start of a weekend.
start of a weekend, so people will want to kind of hang out and do some fun stuff at the end of the week. We thought on Saturday, and then we thought, well, maybe we won't be able to line up enough people for it. And that's not a problem. We
No,
have plenty of people that want to be actively involved in this thing. So that's great, and that's a lesson learned. Just based off of the buzz that we've already gotten with very little promotion so far, we'll be rolling out all of our arsenal of marketing materials over the next week or two for this thing. So we're really just kind of starting to trickle it out now because again, we've only been planning this thing for a couple of months, and already the buzz about it is really palpable. And I think maybe that's the fact that there haven't been other events going on because of COVID. So we're kind of taking advantage of timing where we're doing this kind of right on the cusp of, hey, we can actually get together and do things again.
Well, I mean, mask
Time.
mandates being lifted, and everything, which brings me to a question because I know a lot of people are probably going to curious.
Mhm.
Is there going to be a mask mandate to where people have to wear masks? Or are you going to give the option?
There is not. So if people want to wear a mask, we certainly encourage that because while COVID is on the decline, it is not gone. And the last thing that I want to do is create a super spreader event. We will follow the same protocols that KCC is following. So whether you're on campus for class or whether you're on campus for Comic Con, it will be the exact same policies, which we encourage people to wear masks. If they're uncomfortable in a crowd, certainly do so. But it will not be a mandatory demand. There are COVID placards all over the place. There are we will have more hand sanitizer than you can possibly imagine. We will be drowning in sanitizer at the event because we bought in bulk at the start of the pandemic and we've got to get rid of it somehow, right?
I mean, a convention is the best way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Part of the freebies goodie bags that everyone will be getting will be including all of these surplus sanitizer bottles that we haven't given away to students yet. But we wanted to make everything free, and we are investing a lot of money in this. Thankfully, we ended up with a surplus in our marketing budget for this current fiscal year. So we decided, you know what, let's put it to some good use for something fun. And so we're investing a lot of money to have a totally 100% free event with a bunch of different activities, some really cool guests, and some prizes. So people will when they first check in, they'll be able to get an initial goodie bag. And then if they go and visit every single station within our program, and here's the early design of our program, we'll have different stations around the campus. And every time you go to one, you get a little stamp. And then you fill out all the stamps and you're going to get a nice big prize. So we're investing thousands just in some prizes alone.
That's pretty cool. Speaking of prizes at events, do you guys plan on like having a cosplay contest?
Yes. So there will be a cosplay contest. It will be from 6 to 7 on our main stage. We will have a photo booth. Actually, we'll have multiple photo booths. We'll have a green screen one, a KCC backdrop, and since it is Friday the 13th event, Klamath Falls has the benefit of an amazing haunted house by this guy who goes by the name Monster Mac. And people come from all over the state to go to his haunted house. He spends thousands of dollars every year just on haunted house decorations. And thankfully, he's a friend, and he is donating a whole ton of haunted house decorations for us to utilize for our event. So one of the photo booths will actually be hanging decapitated torsos that you can come up and take a photo of with your head sticking out of. Yeah, there will be a cosplay contest. We decided the other day our prizes are going to be Nintendo Switch lights. And so we'll be giving away 4 of those in different categories for youth, adult, best group cosplay, and then a People's Choice Award. And that'll be sandwiched in between some of our different Q&A guests on our main stage and next to our whole vendor area. So having gone to a lot of cons myself and volunteering at different ones, I know kind of what works and what doesn't, and what, especially around here for Klamath County, what people really want to see. And so we're throwing a whole bunch of things together. Maybe some work, maybe some don't, because this is our first year, but we're really hoping for a big crowd and hoping for an opportunity to showcase some of what we offer as a college, both online and in-person activities that hopefully some people will want to then become a student for summer or fall term.
Nice. I mean, again, the fact that you're making it free, and it's literally in like the heart of Oregon.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people will like this, and the fact that the fact that you're saying, vendors can, and and volunteers can sign up for free and not have to pay anything. I think that gives them a chance, like, hey, I don't have to pay. I could bring my booth.
Yeah.
Now, in the future, if this does well, because I'm hoping it does well, because it sounds like it will. Do you ever plan on like charging in the future, or just keeping it a free con?
We might. I mean, I think attendance will always be free, but we may start charging vendors in future years if we start drawing a very large amount. So far, we have a lot of people who are already asking to be a vendor. So we're still actively searching. We have an online Eventbrite registration page.
Yeah, I saw
for
that.
vendors. Yeah, so if people are interested in being a vendor, fill that out. It takes 5 minutes, and then you're included, and we'll make sure that you have some table space. If people have racks or any sort of backdrops, that they need to supply that, but we will be supplying 8-foot tables for anyone who signs up to be a vendor.
Nice. And for anyone who's wanted to sign up for those, links in the description will be below.
Perfect.
For those who are interested, because I know a lot of people who vend at cons, and not everyone likes to pay. But the fact that you guys are providing a table, I think it makes it a whole lot easier for a lot of people, especially those who can't like lug a giant table around all the time.
It's a community college full of classrooms. We have a lot of tables.
Nice. So mind giving shout outs to the people who have been involved for setting this con up, if you're able to?
Well, it started with me, and then I got thumbs up from various administrators, and then a few other people. I work with the marketing team here. I'm the campus videographer and photographer, and I handle all the social media. And so we have a small marketing team, and basically everyone on the marketing team was like, I want to do that. And as soon as people started hearing that KCC might be doing a Comic-Con, we had a committee that started as 3 people, and now it's, I want to say 12, where people just kept coming to me and saying, can I join that meeting? I want to be a part of this too. So people on campus are excited about it. I hope the communities are excited about it and want to come to Klamath. This is just one of multiple efforts that some I'm involved with directly, some I'm kind of ancillary involved with, of people who have come to the Klamath Basin and really want to change the perception of this area. I know Klamath in the past, as someone who grew up in Eugene, like 99% of Oregonians, I never went, east of Bend or south of Crater Lake, right? So there's a whole kind of forgotten pocket, and there was kind of a bad reputation about Klamath being like, well, we don't need to delve too much into that, but what I've found since I came here was that actually there's this tremendous art scene here, and there's this extraordinary level of unique talents of people who, like me, worked in various creative fields for many, many years, and for whatever reason got drawn to Southern Oregon, maybe cost of living or a little bit sort of lifestyle, but they still want to be actively involved. So like I'm board chair of a nonprofit here called Klamath Film, which puts together the annual Klamath Independent Film Festival. And we do various screenings throughout the year. We also help out with any sort of film production when we come to the area with like location scouting and casting calls and equipment and research and permits and all that. There's a record store that opened up here about a year ago that are good friends with the Retro Wormhole, that the guy who runs it is a former stand-up comedian. And so now he's bringing in like A-list name comics and celebrities to perform at our theater every single month.
Nice.
So we've already had Michael Winslow, Kevin Farley, Kabir Singh. We've got lined up, actually really tragic. I'll pinpoint the day that we're recording this, but Gilbert Godfrey was
Yeah,
supposed to perform here in August.
I heard about that. It's
And
really sad.
the guy who owns it was like best friends with Gilbert. So I saw him yesterday just to kind of give my condolences. He was supposed to come here, and unfortunately, obviously that's not going to happen. But he's already booked. He's got Jamie Kennedy coming to town. He's got Michael Rappaport. He's got Weird Al Yankovic.
I mean,
He's
potential
got,
future guests for your con too later down the road.
yeah. Well, and I certainly have my connections to Hollywood too, because I worked in the music industry, Capitol Records, Interscope, Universal. I was one of the original employees of MySpace back when that was actually a thing. Way that's internet
what's
ancient history
MySpace
at this
again?
point. But yeah, what's a MySpace? I ran MySpace's record label for 2 years.
Nice.
And then I also worked in the video game industry and a couple other areas in film. So I have a lot of connections too. And so I've been hitting up buddies like, hey, can you like hang out for an hour on Zoom for our Comic Con, or can you come up? So we're working those connections, but there's other efforts by multiple groups all throughout this community that are really trying to change the perception of Klamath and make it a destination place that you could want to coming out for the weekend, shop, go see some of the sites, go to a really fun comedy show or concert or Comic Con or whatever may be going on. We want to make this a destination stop. And there's a lot of really smart people that are all collaborating to make that happen.
Oh no, especially with this Comic Con, you may want to get some you'll probably have like some local businesses who want to get involved too.
Absolutely, some already are.
Nice.
So including the place I've been talking about is called Retro Room Records, and so they'll have a booth with a bunch of vinyl out there. Some of the other vendors, we've got some clothing, we've got some, of course, collectibles. A local business called Basin Gaming is helping us out, and they're going to have a bunch of board games and collectible stuff. Astral Games from Medford is coming over.
I've heard of them. I'm friends. I know them.
Yep, and we've talked to Retro Wormhole in the Medford area. We've talked to Roguesley Comics in Medford. There's a lot of individual people who just travel from different conventions all over that have expressed interest in wanting to set up a booth. And right now the floodgates are open. I mean, if we get 100 people to sign up, we're going to run out of space. But for now, we can handle like maybe 30 to 50 vendors pretty well with
Nice.
our main commons area. So we're welcoming anyone who wants to come in and be a part of it, because really the idea of the event is, we'll have some stuff that's pretty typical for Comic-Con,
like food vendors and everything.
Yeah, we'll have some food trucks and we'll have some people who are doing like specialty foods that you can buy. But we're just trying to make this a really fun, upbeat, positive community event. And in doing so, showcasing KCC, of course. But the number one goal is, hey, we had some leftover money. Let's do something fun and invite everyone out for it. So everybody's welcome to come hang out at KCC.
And I also like the fact that you're also wanted to like have, those who are attending, whether they're a vendor or just attending like myself, you want to, have them check out the school and see, hopefully that they'll want to enroll and everything.
Yeah, we have a very extensive online class program and a variety of different online activities. KCC, a big reason why I took a job here was when I left the entertainment industry in LA, I became a newspaper reporter. In Southern Oregon for about 7 years. I had been a newspaper reporter before I joined KCC. And so I got to cover KCC's involvement. And this community college is very unique in terms of building the 21st century model for what rural education can be for small communities. Take example, Lake County, Lakeview, Paisley, Christmas Valley, Silver Lake area, only about 8,000 to 10,000 people live in that entire county. And so it's a very deprived area in terms of amenities. There's not really any sort of chain restaurants. It's long driving distances between areas, and they've never had higher education opportunities. So they've always had this brain drain where kids graduate high school and they head off to U of O or Oregon State or wherever, and they don't come back. And so KCC has been working on developing satellite classrooms and a satellite campus where students can now, at the various high schools there, attend classes through video connections where they're in the classroom real time, but they're 100 miles away, and they can fully interact with the instructors and whatnot. So trying to create some really innovative modern day things that are applicable in 21st century that allows access for everybody. That's really the approach that KCC wants to have, of being innovative and making education an opportunity for everyone. Whether it's vocational, we're right in the middle of building a brand new apprenticeship center that's going to provide tons of opportunities for people who want to be electricians and contractors and truck drivers and firefighters and things where you may not go to like a 4-year university, but they're still incredibly important careers that pay well and are desperately needed. So we're trying to look at what do more rural areas really need from an educational standpoint. And a lot of that is online coursework for people who live way out in the middle of nowhere. So we're proactively trying to approach that. And at the same time, trying to have some fun.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Now mine to talk about some of the guests you're going to be having at this con. I'm going to have like, I know you said you're going to have some guests through Zoom. We're going to have like some physical guests as well.
Yes. Yeah. So we will have featured speakers that are both in person and online. So I've pulled some strings with some of my friends in the entertainment industry. So the guests that we're going to have, filmmaker Taylor Morton. He recently had a documentary on Netflix that was quite popular last year. He made a film called The Last Blockbuster, about the very last Blockbuster video store.
I've heard of that.
He's also made a couple of other great documentary films. One called Pick It Up Ska in the 90s, all about third wave ska music, which I'm a huge fan of, and I love that film so much. Currently, he's working on a documentary about Build-A-Bear that was just announced by E! So he's a real up-and-coming filmmaker, and he's coming down to hang out and do a Q&A about some of his film work. We also have Peter Tirious, who is based in the Bay Area. He is an author of the Mecha Samurai book series, and he also is an animator who has worked in film and video games. So he's worked with LucasArts, he's worked with Pixar, and so we're going to get to talk about anime-based books, comic books, video games, and animation with Peter. The really fun one is going to be a filmmaker named Jesse Blanchard is coming down from Portland, and Jesse specializes in puppetry. He has a film studio called Puppet Core, which is does puppetry blended with horror in a very comedic way. Think like, more like Young Frankenstein style, or Evil Dead, not necessarily like full on horror stuff, but he loves gory stuff and he loves working with puppets. And he made this amazing feature film called Frank and Zed, which we were actually supposed to show at our 2020 Klamath Independent Film Festival. And we couldn't because of contractual things. He was in the middle of some contract negotiations, but he ended up winning Best Feature Film, and we never showed the film. So for 2 years, I've been having people bugging me, when do we actually get to see this movie? Because it hasn't earned its national distribution yet, though it deserves to. But it's been making the rounds at a few festivals here and there. And so we're going to be doing a film screening of that film the following day after Comic Con on Saturday, May 14th at 7 o'clock at the Oregon Tech Auditorium. See, it's about 300 people. Tickets are going to be $10 for that. And Jesse will be there for Q&A afterwards, and he'll bring some of his puppets and other things to demonstrate. But at the Comic Con itself, Jesse is coming down with a bunch of his puppetry stuff, and he's going to lead a puppetry arts and crafts workshop next to our vendor and main stage area. So kids, teens, if people have always wanted to learn how to make puppets, his puppets are incredible. If you go on YouTube, there's a trailer for his film Frank and Zed and some of his other puppet core work. And we had him at a film meeting a few months back, because we always do special guests each month. And he was showing me some of the puppets that he'd used for Frank and Zed. And on screen, they look incredible, right? And then he flips them around, and it's like a cardboard cutout from a Huggies box with like some things glued to it. He's like, you really don't have to do a lot to make great puppets. And so he's going to be teaching people how to make puppets for a couple hours, which is awesome.
Nice.
And then he's going to join us on stage for a Q&A. Then we'll have our cosplay costume contest, where we'll be giving away some Nintendo Switch lights as the main prizes. And we will end the night with Josh Miller and Patrick Casey, who are screenwriters in Hollywood. They'll be joining us virtually from LA because they're a little bit busy right now, kind of reveling in their glory.
I mean, they're the writers for both the Sonic the Hedgehog films, and not to mention the potential writers for the third one.
They're actively working on Sonic 3 right now, but they've also done some other great stuff. They made a Fox animated series called Golan the Insatiable, which I loved. Almost no one watched it, but it's on YouTube. You need to check it out. It's one of the funniest animated series that Fox has ever done. They've done some horror films, some very indie things. Like they have a great film called Hey, Stop Stabbing Me, which is, I mean, the title alone is worth checking it out from there. They have some other films that are coming out soon. They've been working on Ace Ventura 3. So they,
Really?
yeah. So Pat and I knew Pat from years ago. He and I used to work at a video game company together, and now he's a big time Hollywood screenwriter who finally got a hit. Thank God. After like 10, 15 years of struggling and doing low budget films, he was also an actor and a director. He'd done a lot of like the low budget National Lampoons type things and whatnot. And I asked him 2 years ago when Sonic came out and it made like $400 million before theaters got shut down due to COVID. I was like, hey, so what's it like having a hit, man? And he was like, it's so surreal, dude. Like,
I
I've
mean,
been
the movie
struggling
did better
for
than most
so
people
long.
expected.
Oh yeah, it made something like three or 400 million, and
I
Sonic,
guarantee.
yeah.
I guarantee some of the questions they're going to get asked are why was Sonic's original design look like?
Yeah, we talked about that for sure. I've talked to Pat about that several times. He's a great guy. He's also a stand-up comic, and Josh is also a very funny dude. He hosts a podcast as well. I think it's called Films Never Made or something like that, where they just pitch random ideas for really crazy films and then discuss it in detail what the script might be. But they're really great guys. They're going to be joining us from LA to talk as long as people want about Sonic and anything else film related. So those are our guests, but we also have a bunch of different activities happening all over campus too.
Nice. So you've had a chance to experience a lot of Comic Cons. What's it like? What's the difference between attending all these other cons you've attended in the past to having your own actual Comic Con in your hometown?
It hasn't really sunk in yet. Like, am I actually doing something really great? I guess, maybe the day afterwards when I get the head count of how many people showed up, I'll be able to revel in that. But right now we decided to take, 6 to 8 months of work and compress it into 2 or 3 months to pull it off. So it's really just more of a frantic, get all of my other things that I do with my day job anyway, and then throw this on top of it and try to, pull all of it off. But we did cut back on a couple of our activities, but we have some really cool, fun things. And again, it's all free happening around campus. And the idea is that people can roam around campus to our different stations that have different activities. And each time you go to a different place, you'll get a stamp. And if you fill out the entire book, you'll get a prize. We're thinking that maybe we'll order just a ton of like Funko Pops or some other fun collectibles that we will be giving out for free if you go to every single station.
Nice, kind of like a passport in a sense.
Yeah, exactly. So like a little stamp book. So if you go and visit every single station, and I can run down what each of the stations are if you like. We've got some really cool stuff going on.
Go ahead.
Some of it incorporates the programs that we have on campus, because again, this wants to be a showcase for what we do. So like we have a certified driver's license program, so there will be a semi truck out that kids can climb around and honk the horn and all that. We have a fire science program that trains firefighters, so we will have a fire engine out there as well. We'll have some students doing like hose demonstrations and ropes and stuff like that. We have an aviation program on campus, and so we have a full motion flight sim and a full motion trucking sim.
I've been in the flight simulators before.
Yeah. And so people can sign up to try out those. I am terrible at the trucking sim. I'm actually a licensed pilot, so I have no problem with the flight sim. But the trucking sim, I can't even get the truck to move, man. I mean, it always cracks me up when I watch movies, like some action film, and someone like randomly jumps into a semi and then they're just off and rolling in some big chase. Like, dude, unless you've gone through weeks of training, you can't even start the engine, much less, figure out a double clutch.
I mean, they'll especially get like younger kids involved in this too. So when they're older, they may want to, enroll there too.
Exactly. And then in that same area, we'll also have several virtual reality stations set up. We have a digital media design program on campus that does graphic design, filmmaking, video game design. So that's an opportunity to showcase some VR stuff. In other parts of campus, in our library, will be a board game and trading card game area that Basin Gaming is helping out. So we'll have some tabletop games. We'll have all the popular trading games, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, stuff like that people can come in and mess around with all day. We'll have a guided D&D adventure that people can take part in. And then in our main building, building 4, where our commons are, that's where our vendors will be. That's where we'll have our puppetry workshop with Jesse Blanchard. That's where we'll have our main stage. And then in building 7, we will have basically an interactive museum of the history of video games. I used to work in the video game industry. And for people who have come to the Medford Library Comic Con in the past, they've been able to play with some of my collection.
Oh, those were yours?
Yes.
Oh,
So
wow.
I have over 80 video game consoles in my personal collection. No duplicates. So it goes back to the earliest days of Pong to present day. And anytime there's a Comic Con event, I usually volunteer, and I even have a tool shed that's nothing but old TV sets that I break out just so that every console has its own TV. And so we'll line all of them up chronologically. Every system has a little one sheet I've made that details the history of it, accessories, why it was important from a technological standpoint, recommended games. All of the systems that are cartridge based, also I run EverDrive, so they have every single game ever made on one single cart on each system. So you can just scroll through the menus, find if
So
you're
like
the
so
set.
basically kind of like an emulator.
Yeah, so essentially it's like a cart for the console itself that runs all the games off of an SD card.
Nice.
So if there's one game that you remember from when you were a kid and you haven't played it in 30 years, this will be that opportunity to pull it up and be like, oh yeah, I remember this. Or the funny thing is that whenever I bring this stuff out, I bring out some really obscure consoles that people have never heard of, or even the mainstream ones that maybe people have when they were a kid, or they've played some of or they've done like some of the Nintendo, Super Nintendo mini consoles and all that. And I tell people all the time, like, this is going to be your only opportunity ever to play like these ultra obscure games that you heard about, but you can never buy if you're lucky enough to see it in one of the secondhand video game stores, it's going to be behind glass, tagged for like $1,000, right? And all they want to do is play the games that they played before when they were a kid. Like, come on, you're never going to be able to play these games again. Why not try something new that's old?
Right?
There's one experience, but no, all they want to do is play Duck Hunt. It's like, okay, have at it. That is, people always want to take a selfie with the Power Glove, and they want to try it in 5 seconds, and they're like, this sucks. I'm like, yeah, that's why it was terrible. But everyone wants to have the Instagram selfie of them, like showing off that they're wearing the Power Glove. So I'll have a bunch of different accessories and obscurities. It's around 80 game consoles that we'll have. So of course, all of the mainstream systems that everyone knows, and a lot of ones that you've never heard of that weren't successful. I've been a collector for many years, and I love to showcase it. Honestly, my favorite part of doing Comic Cons, or I used to host a monthly retro video game night at the Klamath Library. I would have some kid walk in that they're dragging a parent or grandparent along, who's just going through the motions, and all of a sudden the adult, their eyes would get real big and go, I had that when I was your age. And they'll both sit down and want to play, Pong from 1975 or something, and just have an absolute blast. It shows that the video games are multi-generational, and that just because a game is old doesn't mean that it isn't fun. And that's always really, really fun to see the kind of reactions that people have over some of the rarer consoles, or some of the really weird, obscure accessories and things that were failed, but were a valid effort in like early 3D tech. And I have all sorts of bizarre video game stuff people have no idea even exists. So that, for people who are huge video game fans, that's worth it alone, coming over the hill to Klamath.
Oh yeah, no, it sounds like it honestly sounds like it's gonna be worth it. So we got about a few more minutes here. Anything else you'd like to add in about this con that people should be looking forward to come May 13th?
Yeah, so I mean, we want people to come here. We want people to experience it. We want people to have fun. There's no pressure to do anything, but we want you to experience everything. So if you do fill out that stamp book, you'll be walking away with some prizes. You'll be walking away with a goodie bag regardless. We hope that people enjoy the different vendors and all of our speakers that we have lined up. And we want to keep doing this year after year as a fun community event. As our spring term starts to wrap up before we hit finals, it's an opportunity for students to kind of unwind a little bit and get ready for that final push. And it's an opportunity for kids who are getting close to high school graduation, thinking about what do I do next. It's a chance to find out about some of the programs on campus and get ready for the fall. So we just want to provide a wide variety of activities that hopefully covers a little bit of something for everybody to just have fun for a day.
And there's nothing wrong with it. Also, the one question I forgot to ask: how many buildings is this going to be in at the college?
So KCC has 9 buildings, and we will be set up in building 4, 6, 7, and 9.
So about
So
four building.
so about half a campus.
That's not
And then
bad.
we'll also have some stuff outside. It's not a very large campus in terms of acreage, so it's all very easily within walking distance. We'll have sandwich boards outside with directions, and we'll have volunteers to point people in different directions for where things are happening. But we want
That's a
people to
good
get
thing.
out and explore and try the different areas, and I don't know, maybe you'll try a trucking sim and be like, maybe I want to be a truck driver, or find that you really love creating puppets and you go in a whole direction of being a filmmaker. We want it to be an opportunity to have fun.
And I think honestly, for those who will watch this and like, hey, this is a con I want to go to, especially those who live within the area, or those who are out of state, want to check it out.
Yeah, I hope so. And if we get enough people out, they'll keep giving me funding where I can pull this off year and year, and hopefully make it even bigger and better in future years. The Oregon Tech one is a 2-day event. I'd love to make it into a whole weekend thing, line up more guests. I had more connections I could have pulled, but we ran out of time for the stage. So I hope people enjoy the guests and vendors and gaming, and please come in costume. It costs nothing. We will have some costume criteria though. Please no weapons, at least nothing sharp or very realistic looking. If it's like bright orange and obvious that it's a toy, we'll allow it. But also, this is supposed to be family friendly, so maybe leave the slave Leia costume at home, or something like
Or the
really
Red Sonia.
yeah. So some of the anime where it looks like women are just wearing dental floss, that may not be appropriate. But no, we want people to come in costume. We want families to come. We want kids to come. We want adults to come. We want current students, alumni. We want to have people who are just bored, or people who want to call in sick for the day and come over the hill to come. This is an all-encompassing, everyone is welcome event.
And real quick, what is the place and location and time for this con, so people will know?
Klamath Community College in Klamath Falls. You can Google that, but it is 7390 South 6th Street. It is on the southeast end of town, so at the intersection of highways 97 and 140 is right where we sit. We'll have signs out front that'll point you in the proper direction to go.
And this is on May 13th from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Friday the 13th from 3 to 8 p.m. with an additional film screening of the movie Frank and Zed on Saturday, May 14th at 7 p.m. at the Oregon Tech Auditorium.
Nice. I think that should have covered. Again, Kurt, thank you for coming on to talk about KCC Comic Con, and looking forward to seeing you at the con next month and see what this is all about.
Oh, we hope everyone has fun. We'd love to see you here and see you here again in future years. Thank you so much for the time.
You're very welcome. Again, I'm Wayne the Unknown. Thank you for listening to this Cosplay Contact episode convention discussion. As always, thank you for listening, and until next time, thank you for watching.